Shakespeare Over My Shoulder by Ted Lange.
This mystery remained undiscovered, but 'tis all one to me, for that I had been the finder out of this secret, it would not have relished among my other discredits by William Shakspere.
For 400 years, scholars have debated this mystery and searched for the truth. Who really wrote the Shakespearean plays? Some researchers believe that Christopher Marlowe was the sole playwright, while others propose that it is Edward De Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. Still, many English academics insist that Sir Francis Bacon, one of the great literary minds of Queen Elizabeth's court, wrote the plays. And of course, there are also the intransigent Shakespearean intellectuals who vehemently contest that the plays are the works of just one man from Stratford-upon-Avon, William Shakspere. Shakespeare Over My Shoulder ponders this mystery with the four likely contenders at center stage. They reconnoiter at the Mermaid Tavern in 1593 as the bubonic plague rages through London. It is a pandemic and all the theaters have been closed. As playwrights, they muse their futures with practicality and comedy and lend an ear to the Shakespearean conundrum.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended, that you but have slumbered here, while these visions did appear.
Act 1, Scene 1. Scene opens in London's Mermaid Tavern, May 1593. The Earl of Oxford is writing. Shakespeare is wearing a long scarf, which works as a mask, covering his mouth and nose. The scarf is to protect against the plague. Shakespeare watches Oxford looking over Oxford's shoulder for a moment.
Why are you standing there?
I'm just looking over your shoulder. What are you writing?
A poem.
Shakespeare sits across from him and takes off his scarf.
No. A poem? Do you have a new play? I need a play.
Shouldn't we keep our social distance?
You look healthy. We're good. After the plague, when the theaters reopen, I do not want to scrounge for work. Are you working on any new plays?
This plague is giving us a little time to hone our work, and I've scribbled a few notes, and I've got an idea that I think has promise.
Is there a role for me? My money is low, Oxford. I want to do one of your plays.
It's too soon to tell. Still developing it.
What have you got so far? Tell me. I bet I can play a role. I'm good enough to tear apart to passions.
Shakespeare, I've heard thee speak me a speech once, but it was not acted.
Was it lofty? I am known to make my speeches lofty.
I think you saw the air too much thus.
Not I. For certainty, I speak my words trippingly on the tongue.
I think you a robustious periwig-pated fellow, friend Shakespeare. I've seen you tear a passion to tatters, to very rags.
Not with good writing. You, Oxford, are a wonderful writer. I saw Marlowe's Tamburlaine. Not as good as your writing.
Well, I helped him with that.
I could tell. That is when the verse started to sing. I would do your words wonderful justice.
Why are you out and about? Shouldn't you be home?
I've cleaned my room 3 times in 5 days. Sitting in a room watching the same 4 walls can drive a man crazy. I rearranged my furniture twice, and every time I looked out my window, empty streets. I need people.
Not a good thing to need during a plague.
I keep my distance. I will also need a job when this plague has ended. Friend Oxford, I'm really good at soliloquies.
You suit the action to the word to the action?
An unrelenting yes. 100 times yes. No, 1,000 times yes. I say opportunity is the essential gift to any thespian, but as hard to find as an agate stone. What is this new play you write?
It's a comedy centered on twins.
My chief humor is to play a tragedy, yet I could do a comedy. I can squeeze a laugh and peel a joke. I like the sound of laughter wafting up from the groundlings. Yes, this I might do well if you cast me in your play. Which twin would I play?
Shakespeare, I haven't assigned you a role.
Who are the twins?
I'm adapting Plautus. Not just one set of twins, but two sets of twins.
Excellent idea.
Oh, you'll say anything to get a part.
True, but this does not mean I'm not a good actor. I recognize talent. You recognize talent. I can find another actor that looks like me.
One set of twins is named Antipholus of Ephesus, and the other Antipholus of Syracuse, to contrast their servants Dromio of Ephesus and Dromio of Syracuse.
Farce! I'm laughing already. Let me play Dromio.
Of Ephesus or Syracuse?
You choose.
No, I have an actor in mind. But maybe you could play Pinch.
What is Pinch? A lover or a tyrant?
A schoolmaster.
Worthy role for an educated actor.
So you say. Can you act literate?
Let me audition for you. I've got a speech I've written. It's a soldier's soliloquy.
Let me hear it.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this sun of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried.
Hold it. Stand up and go over there and do it.
Shakespeare gets up from the table and walks away a few paces. He hunches over like Richard III and limps when he walks.
Are you trying to ridicule my walk?
No, I'm doing Richard III.
Oh, I see. You look like Robert Cecil. Continue.
Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute.
Bend over a little bit more. Make it look like you have a hunchback.
Shakespeare hunches over a little more.
But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I, that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I, that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that dogs bark at me as I halt by them.
That's 100% Robert Cecil.
Why, I, in this weak, piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to see my own shadow in the sun, and descant on mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain.
Hold it. I want you to do something else. Something that has some lyricism to it. Here, read my poem.
Well, you did like what I just did, right?
Just read this. Of Venus and Adonis.
Certainly, but who is my character?
Anyone you want. You're reading to get the next job. Got it?
Got it. Even as the sun, with purple-colored face, had ta'en his leave of the weeping morn, rose-cheeked Adonis hied him to the chases, hunting he loved, but love he laughed to scorn. Sick-thoughted Venus makes amain unto him, and like a bold-faced suitor gins to woo him.
Stop, Shakespeare, please.
Oxford moves his chair and turns so his back is facing Shakespeare.
Now, Continue.
But you can't see me.
Young Shakespeare, acting is not the art of making faces. It's the art of investing emotion into words and thoughts. Stand over my shoulder here and let me listen to you handle the verse. Let me hear you act the words. Let me hear the poetry and the emotion of what you're saying.
Thrice fairer than myself, thus she began. The field's chief flower, sweet above compare, stained to all nymphs, more lovely than a man, more white and red than doves and roses are, nature, that made thee with herself at strife, saith that the word hath ending with thy life.
It's better, much better.
But do I get the part?
Too soon to tell. Let's leave that open for the moment.
Oxford, can I show you something?
Shakespeare hands a worn letter to Oxford.
Good news or bad news?
It's a letter from home. My son is sick. Damn my wife.
Oxford continues to read the letter.
Where do they live?
Oxford, I'm from a place called Stratford-upon-Avon, a small town, a hamlet, really. I left when I was 21, just heading out looking for fame, fortune, and new adventures.
Every young man's dream. When I was that age, I was traveling Europe.
The trick is not to have children before you realize what you want to do.
What do you have? Boys? Girls?
I've got a daughter, Susanna, and a set of twins, a boy and a girl, Hamnet and Judith. Sweetest children ever.
Miss them?
Let's just say their mother makes it hard for me to return as often as I would like. You're a noble man, so you don't have to deal with the shrew.
An evil woman does not know class distinction. A sour woman is not class specific. Any man can latch on to the wrong woman at any time. I went looking for adventure as a young man to France and Italy. As I traveled abroad, I was sent word that my new wife was pregnant.
You were ecstatic.
Till I did the math.
Oxford. I'm 17 years old, and I had never seen a woman's naked breast. She was 25 and willing to let me touch her breast in the bright light of the sun. Not the soft, shadowy candlelight of the night, but free as you please in the daylight. And then she would let me watch those lovely pink nipples rise. 17 years old. What should I do? I couldn't wait to bury my passion in her treasure. My God, Oxford, the feeling of my first orgasm at 17? She was not a virgin, nor did I care. I just knew the feeling I was experiencing made everyday life special. She led me to an unknown land, and I was happy to be there. But she was 25. I was 17. Do you think she took advantage of the situation? It is not till after you are married that you replay the scenario in your head, then you realize that maybe, just maybe, an older woman knows how to manipulate a young boy. Not long after our vows, my daughter Susanna arrived.
What's your wife's name?
Anne.
My wife's name is Anne.
Is your Anne a bitch?
Oh, most decidedly.
Do you think being a bitch is peculiar to women named Anne?
No, not in the least. My mistress is also named Anne.
That's a hell of a coincidence.
I suggest to you, Shakespeare, if you must have a mistress, make sure she has the same name as your wife. Less complications remembering who you're with.
Anne Hathaway is not the only Anne I have loved.
Meaning?
Oxford, I'll tell you a secret none of my friends know. The Anne I married was not the Anne I loved. There was a young girl, my age, named Anne Watley of Temple Grafton. God, she was beautiful, and she loved me with a true heart and a perfect smile.
Oh, why didn't you marry her?
I tried. I got the marriage license on November 27th from the Bishop of Worcester Diocese to marry the woman of my dreams. Anne Whatley loved me. But Oxford, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. Virgin that she was, and God forgive me, taking that maidenhead was uppermost in my head.
And?
And I told Hathaway I was going to marry, and it wasn't going to be her.
How did she stop you?
I did the math. She was 3 months pregnant with Susanna.
But weren't you underage?
Of course I was. But when your good name is going to be sullied with scandal, a young man's father can use his influence to guarantee certain events proceed in a face-saving manner. The next day, a bond of marriage was made for me to Anne Hathaway. For what is wedlock force but hell? A bit rushed, but very legal.
The good news is that you know you're the father of your children. Every time I look at Elizabeth's face, I see the face of her real father. I have to believe the stars above us govern our conditions.
But you are a gentleman, an earl, the Earl of Oxford. You have money and position. You can do what you want. I am ruled by the lack of money. Before the marriage, my dreams were important. After the wedding, all I was told, you now have a family. You can't do that. The Fustilarian crushed every idea or dream I had and replaced it with the word obligation. I believe most wives are lesbians.
You do.
Why else would they try to turn their husband into a pussy? I was caught in a bear trap. I needed to find a way out without chewing off my leg. If I stayed, she would crush my spirit.
How did you escape?
When I turned 21, that was a magical year. I poached a deer from the estate of Thomas Lucy. Then before I could be brought to trial, I convinced Anne I had to leave. I left home, hearth, and heartache.
And you came to London.
To seek my fortune in the big city. I did not want to be a big fish in a little pond. I wanted to swim with the strong fish and test my mettle. She told me many times I would never make anything of myself. I was not man enough to deal with the real world. Mark my words, you'll come running home to the comfort of my arms. I was a princox with wild fantasies.
But you didn't return. I know it wasn't easy, but why did you stick it out here?
2 years after I left, I was so low, I did not know where I would sleep or where my next meal would come from, but I was determined not to prove her right. Sometimes I think you need someone who doesn't believe in you to give you the strength to keep fighting.
You survived.
I'd rather hold horses in front of a London theater for one night than be high bailiff for a year in Stratford upon Avon. And now I am desperate once again. I've got to make money. I need an acting job or as your valet. What do you require? I'll do anything in the theater. I can't go home a failure.
Shakespeare, I have nothing. Come to me after this plague is over, and maybe I can find something for you to do. It won't be fancy. It may be some menial task. I'll keep my eyes and ears open for you.
I would be most grateful. Loan me a shilling for a drink. My parched throat cries out for a beer.
Oxford gives him a shilling.
I meant to say, give me a shilling. Thanks.
Shakespeare wraps his scarf around his mouth and goes to the bar. Oxford continues writing. Christopher Marlowe enters. He is wearing a long scarf which covers his mouth and nose. He looks around and sits at the table with Oxford.
Oxford, what are you doing out?
Working on a new poem. I needed exercise and a change of scenery. Luckily, this is one of the few taverns open.
Marlowe takes off his scarf.
I hate these scars. Mask your face in the streets or receive a fine. This plague is a pain in my arse. Oxford, I'm working on a new play, but with the plague shutting down the cockpit, I think I need a gimmick to bring audiences back to the theater.
What's the play?
I'm calling it The Jew of Malta.
What is this fascination you have with Jews?
I don't think it's a fascination. They just make great characters in telling a story.
Oh, great characters. Didn't you write another play with a Jewish character?
I haven't finished that play yet. I'm going to produce this play first. Maybe later I may produce the Shylock character in another play. Right now, I am fleshing out this Jew, Barabbas. I'm using him as the main character for this play. It's so easy to draw conflict through the Jewish lifestyle.
Well, I don't need a Jew to draw conflict from my plays.
Oxford, the great thing about using Jews is no one in England has seen them since 1299. There's no point of reference, so I can write whatever I want.
I've seen a Jew as recently as last week.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. There are Jews living here secretly.
How do you know the person you saw was a Jew?
I felt the horns on his head.
Proves nothing.
Marranos is what they call themselves. A Jew will tell you he's a Jew if he trusts you.
You're trustworthy.
I can keep a secret.
The only secret you can keep is a truth you don't know.
I know your benefactor.
The Queen?
Well, her too. But I'm speaking of Roger Manwood. Deny it.
Mr. Manwood. How do you know he is my benefactor?
When you went to court for killing someone in a street brawl, what was your punishment?
Oxford, you are black.
I'm what?
You are black. I am black. You are the kettle, and I am the pot.
Oh, the pot calling the kettle black.
Exactly. Where did you quarrel with Philip Sidney?
On a tennis court in Whitehall.
Ah, yes, the tennis court fight.
Well, it was a minor argument and it was resolved.
And how did you get that limp you try to compensate for?
Everyone I know knows that I got it in a street fight.
An argument with Sir Thomas Knivet?
That too has been resolved, and I have the wound on my leg to prove it.
So, I think you do not have enough ground to stand on to reprimand me. William Bradley was not killed by me. I was there, but I did not strike the blow that ended his life. Tom Watson and I were minding our own business when Bradley got a notion in his head he could overpower Tom. Never fight with a swordsman who is better than you. Tom is a master. Now, Bradley drew his sword, I stepped back, and Tom made swift work of defeating his opponent. I think Tom let Bradley wound him, for after he did, Tom pierced him through the heart. Now, Tom's wound helped our case, and the judge saw the injustice of the situation. But I struck no blow to hurt or kill William Bradley.
How subject we young men are to this vice of fighting.
Let us say that no one knows better than you of this vice. Oxford, I was innocent, and I do not have the favor of the Queen to advocate for me.
No, just the judge. Who better to assist in a courtroom trial than the weight of a judge? Marlowe, the truth can bend. A judge sits on the bench, weighs the evidence with his own values, not the law. Who was the judge that sat on the bench for your trial?
Roger Manwood.
Ah, I rest my case. Marlowe, it's a dangerous game that you play. And if you continue to play, you may end up dead sooner than later, or with a limp like mine. There will not always be a Manwood to guide circumstances. And remember, the Queen can be manipulated.
There is artistry to this game. Like backgammon, you roll the dice, but those numbers do not determine the end of your game. Strategy determines the outcome. Position, experience, and a little luck. Less luck than you might imagine. If you play the game without emotion, you can win.
You are as a candle, the better part burnt out. How many characters in your new play?
Near 20.
How many women?
We've got some nuns, an abbess, a daughter, and of course a courtesan.
Of course. Well, I have a gimmick for you. Innovative, yet secure.
My ears cry out for security.
Let women play the female roles.
Oxford, I'm serious and you decide to induce my laughter.
Marlowe, you mistake my tone. I lay at your feet an ingenious idea. What could be more fascinating to see on stage than an actual female attempting to portray her gender? It would be innovative.
I have obligations to my boys.
This isn't about obligations, it's about art. Think of the controversies your play would generate. First whispers, then passionate talk, then angry debates. And the debates would turn into attendance and ultimately guilders in your coffers. The question is, do you want to be in the forefront as a playwright and producer?
To be or not to be, that is the question. I ask you for a simple suggestion and you give me revolution. I don't need the aggravation.
Someday it'll happen. Someday a woman will share the stage with a man. Be a man ahead of his time, Kit.
Shakespeare comes over to the table. He stands behind Marlowe and mouths the word, "Is that Christopher Marlowe?" Oxford nods yes.
Oxford, is there a fishmonger standing over my shoulder unannounced?
Oxford nods yes. Shakespeare comes around the table to face Marlowe.
Excuse me. Christopher Marlowe, right?
Yes.
Shakespeare takes his hand and shakes it enthusiastically.
I am a great admirer of your work. What a fantastic writer you are. I saw your play, Dido, Queen of Carthage. The way you handle blank verse is amazing. One speech in it I chiefly loved 'twas Aeneas to Dido.
Thank you. And you are?
Shakespeare, William Shakspere. I'm an actor.
A pleasure to meet you. But right now, I am in the middle of an intimate conversation with my friend here, Mr. De Vere.
Yes, we talked earlier. He was kind enough to buy me a drink.
I see.
I just wanted to say to you, I hope to someday be in one of your plays. You have such a perceptive eye when it comes to writing character.
Thank you. If we could get back to our conversation.
Sure, absolutely. I don't want to be an intruder. Just remember, if you ever need a talented actor, I am available.
I will keep that in mind.
I know you have an eye for brilliance, an eye and an ear.
That's a compliment.
I would be happy to audition for you anytime. I can play many varied kinds of roles, romantic, heroic, comedic, or tragic. All I need is a chance. Whatever role is uncast, think of me to fill the void, be it man or woman, girl or boy. Let the lines cry out for interpretation, then let me seduce the role. If a woman, I can be gentle as a subtle Smilacina flower or as hardy as a buxom chambermaid. Or I can play a shrew. I have particular insight into the characteristics of a shrew. To comb your noodle with a three-legged stool and paint your face and use you like a fool.
Good to know.
I wrote a soliloquy.
You did?
Now is the winter of your discontent.
Wait, that's my line.
Continue for my friend.
Yes. Now is the winter of our discontent. A good start, right? Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this sun of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried.
Hold it. Shakespeare, this is not a theater. And today I am not auditioning any actors. I just came out to this tavern for a drink and an uninterrupted conversation with my friend here. Now I realize this plague has got us all a little batty, but thou dost infect mine eyes. I can see you are immensely talented, but right now I came here to relax, and you are making that unachievable. Forgive me if I sound a little shrill.
Certainly, I understand. You are two of England's finest playwrights. I am just a lowly peasant. I should not intrude. I will just go over there and play solitaire backgammon.
I hope you win. Thank you. So, Marlowe, what are your thoughts?
Shakespeare goes to another part of the tavern, sits at a table with a backgammon board, his back to the audience. The lights dim on him.
Would you do it? Would you give a woman a role in one of your plays?
Hell no. But I'm not looking for a gimmick.
I need a better idea.
You're letting your private parts dictate your art. You shouldn't be involved with any of those young nubile actors. Buggery can be dangerous.
Politics. It's politics. Simply unavoidable.
Restraint and discipline. Keep your pantaloons up and avoid politics. Those castrati you love so well will be your Achilles heel.
I can think of 100 reasons why a woman would be a disaster on stage.
Give me 3.
Pardon me?
Give me 3 reasons you think a woman on stage would prove a detriment to the execution of one of your plays.
It's common sense. It's simplicity itself. First, they don't have the instrument to articulate their gender. No voice. I need an actor to reach the back row of the cockpit theater. Their voice will not have the melodious volume to reach the last seat in the last row in the balcony. Words will be lost, consonants will be dropped, and vowels will be blurred. And Oxford. Can a woman really understand the poetry of my iambic pentameter? I think not. There is a physical strength that a woman cannot sustain over the course of the evening, the run of the show. A woman is frail, dainty, and inherently weak. How can they stand up to the natural strength of one folksy boy?
I know a lady in waiting, strong as a bull.
There are boys that make better women than some of the women I know. They have studied, practiced, and perfected the attitudes of a woman. Oxford, I've got to introduce you to some of my lady friends.
I look forward to the day.
And as delightful as these women are, they cannot touch my boys for femininity.
Well, maybe I'll decline that invitation.
Third, and most important, a woman does not have the talent to create a full-rounded female emotional depth of character.
Well, if that's true, how can you write her?
Any woman that likes, enjoys, or wants to be around the theater is a lady of ill repute. A strumpet that any decent gentleman would shun. Every gentleman knows that, and it will color their character with the reality of their world. The theater tends to attract trollops and harlots. I need a woman who can play royalty as well as a wench. Can a harlot play a gentlewoman? I think not. I need the audiences to get lost in the story I am trying to tell. Frankly, there aren't any women talented enough to actually play a woman.
Your theory almost works.
Not a theory, Oxford. Not a theory. A fact.
You'd better tell the Italians. They've been putting women on the stage for 30 years.
He's slubbering balderdash.
Did you think the Commedia dell'arte was all men? Have you even been to Italy?
Holland and France, my friend. I tend to avoid the South.
Well, next opportunity, travel south. I suggest Venice.
Italians. Putting a woman on stage. Churlish, pin-butt idiots. Why don't you do it, Oxford?
Young Sophocles, you are the up-and-coming playwright. It falls on your shoulders to carry that weight.
If I should do it, you need to do it.
No, I must work in the theater with a hidden hand. It wouldn't be prudent for the Earl of Oxford to innovate the theater or draw attention to my involvement. Whereas
I understand. Whereas I have no such high claims to society, especially royal society. I'm just the son of a poor shoemaker, and therefore I'm still establishing myself from my humble beginnings. It falls to me to push the art form forward.
Who better than you to introduce the English audiences to new possibilities?
You have not put your name on any play that you've written.
True, but certain royal personalities are hearing rumors, and I find myself in a dilemma. If I desire to continue, I must find a mask to cover my face.
Hurts, doesn't it? Art, no credit.
Yet art just the same.
Social politics of royalty bear no weight on my achievements. Thank goodness my father was a shoe repairman.
Well, you are the bright and shining star of London's theater. Your verse is magical, structure impeccable, and actors like Edward Allen seek you out. I see a great future for you, Marlowe, but don't try and sell me the shoe repairman fantasy.
What are you implying?
You are college educated. What college did you attend?
Corpus Christi College. Here to complete my studies in 87.
So are you telling me your father made enough money to send you to college? Let not the creaking of shoes nor the rustling of silks betray thy poor heart.
Of course not. I had a benefactor.
And may I ask who sponsored you?
You may ask, but wait not for the answer today.
Francis Bacon enters the tavern. He wears a long scarf over his mouth.
Ah, Marlowe, I've been looking for you.
And fortune smiles on you today.
Bacon takes off his scarf.
Good to see you, Sir Edward. This scarf is not worth the rude wind that blows in my face. Is this blight really in the air and on the streets of London?
Bacon, how much longer do we have to survive this plague?
Quarantine when 40 days are up. We just have to use caution and common sense. Marlowe, I've spoken to the Queen. Your life is in danger.
Hazards of being the Queen's spy.
There's a plot brewing against you. You must beware of the Privy Council. The Queen has asked me to assist in helping with your rescue. I want you to join my Rosicrucians.
And what do they do? Write poetry?
No. We must devise a romantic death for you. The Rosicrucians will guide you to your safe destination.
Marlowe, you haven't heard of the Secret Order of the Rosy Cross?
If it's a secret order, I would say no. Who can keep up with all the secrets that abound in the royal court? Druids, Maranos, and Knights of Templar. It's a jungle out there.
What fates impose that men must needs abide. It boots not to resist both wind and tide. Marlowe, it's time for you to die.
Clever and poetic, but I'm not doing it. I'm not going to disappear just because London gets a little hot in the spring. I like the tropics. I can handle the situation.
The Privy Council is plotting your demise. Robert Cecil wants you dead.
Bacon, I'm in the middle of a very profitable career. I'm the brightest star in the firmament. My plays are quite popular. I'm even thinking of putting women on the stage. I want to innovate the theater. I have not reached my prime, and you want to cut me off?
Not me. It's the crown. It's the Queen. Do you really want to end up dead? If you let me, we can fake your death. You've made some very powerful people angry. There are deep plots and delicate stratagems practiced against you. They're not imaginary. It is real. But your death doesn't have to be.
Blank verse. My reasons lie in the written word. Blank verse. I'm getting quite good at it. I used to hate writing. Now I can't wait to put pen to paper.
I understand your passion. I write too.
Men are sometimes masters of their fates, Marlowe. I'm sure Bacon would not be insisting if it were not serious.
No, you don't understand. You think you understand. I've got a trunk full of plays. Blank verse. I'm creating an art form. Who else is doing this?
Me, I'm doing it.
Not as good as I'm doing it. And you don't put your name on any of your plays.
I will give you credit for writing some wonderful words, but you are not the only star in the heavens.
Oxford, I can write you under the table.
You think you can. Blank verse is not your private toy. Once it becomes popular, think you other writers will not be able to master it? Marlowe, pick your poison and move to the back of the line.
Oxford, I have had great success with my plays.
Dido, Queen of Carthage, and what? Massacre at Paris? Notable, but not the huge successes you claim.
Dido was my first play, and I was just getting my footing. And Massacre in Paris was a little too controversial for the Queen. But I am learning the politics of writing. Tamburlaine the Great, Edward II. Vastly different subject matters handled by a master. Big successes tonight.
You will not witness anything if Robert Cecil, the future Lord Burleigh, has his way. He wants your head.
It's the boy, isn't it?
What boy?
That boy in your troupe. You don't want to leave the boy. Your passion will get you killed.
You're on the wrong road, in the wrong city, at the wrong time. I am a genius, and the general public is starting to acknowledge it. I am gaining a reputation, and I like how it feels.
Stubborn little sodomite, isn't he?
Spitting in the wind, Oxford. And who is that Italian boy that cooks for you and lives in your home? Whose bed does he sleep in?
Ah, yes. Once again, the pot calls the kettle black.
Fame is a dangerous mistress, Marlowe. It's a cannibal that eats your soul. She takes the best part of your talent and inflates your mind with self-importance.
Genius.
Sir Francis, name another playwright that writes as well as me. Ben Jonson? Not even close. I am not bragging. I am looking at the cold, hard facts of talent. Right now, London theater is at a turning point. Someone has to lead the pack. Someone has to set the tone and make the rules for what constitutes good playwriting. I have discovered I am very good at blank verse. This is an art form just now emerging. Give the devil his due and give me my accolades.
You fall into the abyss of overconfidence. She makes you think you are stronger than you actually are. She fills your dreams with gold, magnifies your mirror with images of overwhelming power. Be careful, Marlowe. Even mature men have been kissed by the fame and lost their mind in the scent of her perfume. Fame will suck all the idealism out of your brain. Protect your talent. Taste the moment, but don't build on its foundation. Secure your future so that the world will enjoy your talent. Don't let that cunt fame trick you. She's satanic and hungry and wants to control your future. Defy her. She will infect your friends and your family. Make them feel you owe them. They will demand their fair share of your spoils. You won't change, but they will. Oh yes, Marlowe. You think you can handle that bitch, but believe me, I've seen how she can devastate a man's soul and well-being and warp his mind. Take the offer.
I am my own man, Bacon.
You must die. The question is, where do you want your phoenix to rise?
I promised Edward Allen my new play.
And we will make sure that he gets it.
You don't understand. I want to see him act in it.
You don't understand. You won't be alive to see him act in anything. If you follow my plan, you'll live to write another play. If you don't, all plays die with you. Or do you want to rise again?
Marlowe puts on his mask, then gets up.
I have to think about this. You are asking a lot of a man who just came out to break the boredom of the plague and have a drink, maybe play a game of backgammon. Before I give up this life I love so much, I must walk it out and think on it.
He leaves with a flourish.
Youth, all swagger, very little substance. What are you writing?
A poem.
What's it called?
Venus and Adonis.
Ah, may I see it?
Oxford hands Bacon a few pages. Bacon reads it. Oxford stands and paces as Bacon reads. Shakespeare comes over to Francis Bacon. He stands behind Bacon's chair and mouths the words, "Francis Bacon?" Oxford nods yes. Shakespeare tries to read what Bacon is reading.
Oxford, is there a miscreant at my shoulder?
Excuse me, aren't you Francis Bacon?
Uh-oh.
Why, yes, I am.
You write plays, don't you?
On occasion, I have been known to put pen to paper and scribble out a few choice pieces.
I am an actor.
Bacon, would you like to see his audition piece?
Not particularly.
I wrote a soliloquy.
Discontent is following you wherever you go.
If you got something that works, why change it?
I'm starting to feel my discontent.
Sir Francis, my name is Shakespeare, William Shakspere. I am an actor in search of a good play.
Oh, well, I am a writer in search of a good idea.
If you ever need an actor, I am the thespian for you. I can act. I do tragical or comical, or both at the same time. I do prose, blank verse, and I can memorize a scene faster than an Irishman can tell a lie. I can stage fight scenes. I know how to handle broadsword, rapier, or foil.
Shakespeare picks up a broom and takes a swordsman's stance and does his sword fighting moves.
Good. See my form and my execution?
Every inch King Arthur.
If you wrote a play about, say, Henry V, I could stage your battle scenes. I am an all-around utility actor. Tell me what you need, and I can see that it gets done.
Mr. Shakespeare, I will keep all of what you have said in mind, but right now I'm in the middle of a critique with my friend here, Mr. De Vere.
Oh, yes. Sorry to have bothered you. Just leave word here in this tavern when you are auditioning for your next play, and I will be sure to get it. Don't wait till St. Crispin's Day.
I will remember.
Shakespeare goes to another part of the tavern. Bacon holds up his pages to Oxford.
Hey, Oxford, you're not going to publish this, are you?
I was thinking maybe I should.
No, you can't. Surely, you're not seriously going to let the general public in on this. Didn't the Queen in 80 arrest you for treason? She thought you were Catholic.
We're past that. I'm back in her good graces. We were also once lovers.
De Vere, in this poem, Venus, is she not the Queen?
Well, of course, yes, she is.
The Queen will read this and you will be reprimanded.
Her Majesty is making a fool of herself, chasing that young boy in court.
But you write, look how a bird lies tangled in a net, so fastened in her arms Adonis lies. Pure shame and odd resistance made him fret, which bred more beauty in his angry eyes. Oxford, no, don't do this. And what is this couplet? Rain added to a river that is rank, perforce will force it overflow the bank. Publish this and the Queen will separate your head from your shoulders.
Bacon, he has no interest in her. Yet she flaunts her power before him.
Of course she does. She is the Queen. True, the court knows all this, but others will read this and it will go wrong for you. How could you write this? Still she entreats, and prettily entreats, for to a pretty car she tunes her tail. Still he is sullen, still he lowers and frets, twixt crimson shame and anger ashy pale. I must say, beautiful and elegant.
Thank you.
But outrageous and dangerous. Your couplet, it doesn't help the situation. Being red, she loves him best, and being white, her best is bettered with a more delight.
She won't be mad. The general public won't know of whom I speak.
Well, here you are at your subtle best. By this, the lovesick Queen began to sweat. You don't find that a bit too obvious, the lovesick Queen?
Finish the line. There's beauty there.
For where they lay the shadow had forsook them, and Titan, tired of the midday heat, with the burning eye did hotly overlook them.
Burning eye. I love that. Don't you love that? Now read the couplet.
Wishing Adonis had his team to guide, so he were like him, and by Venus' side. Every noble man that walks through the royal court will know what you are saying. This is shameful, Oxford. Listen, just listen. You're right here. And now Adonis with a lazy sprite, and with a heavy dark dislikening eye, his lowering brows overwhelming his fair sight, like misty vapors when they blot the sky, souring his cheeks, cries, "Fie, no more of love?" Oxford, we were all there for that moment. You will spike her anger with this poem. Fie, no more of love? It won't take a genius to know that you have criticized the Queen. You need a beard. Someone who is not of the court. Someone, when asked, can say, I just wrote a poem. I took Ovid's work and I turned it into my very own. Publish this and you'll be out of her good graces.
She's being misguided by her advisors.
Agreed. But Oxford, you can't get a message to her. You can get a message to her, however, not this way. If she finds out who from her royal court is publishing poems about her private royal court flirtations and affairs, you will be labeled a traitor and could lose your head. Or worse, drawn and quartered.
But she has to know. How else can I get her to listen without Lord Burleigh whispering in her ear?
Vere, you need a beard. Actually, we need a beard, a facade. I have some plays I want to publish. I said some things that they should not be linked to me. Your poem, Venus and Adonis, if this comes from you, you risk losing any royal position you've gained, and maybe your life. Retribution will come back, swift, to you and your family. Think of your daughter.
Not my daughter, my wife's daughter. But I'm trying to be the bigger man. But when I look in her face, I don't see her mother or me. It's hard. I want to be a mean son of a bitch. I want revenge.
Didn't you get your revenge with Lady Anne Vavasor?
No, I got a wound to my leg by her brother, Thomas, which gives me this unsightly limp.
Oxford, we need to find someone not too bright. Someone who loves the theater and the prospect of being a writer. A man we can pay and manipulate, shower with praise, and he can front for our artistic output of our literary works.
Maybe someone who's a little desperate for money?
Exactly. Someone desperate enough to be intimidated by us.
Oxford looks around the room as Shakespeare walks by their table. He calls him over.
Oh, Shakespeare. Oh, William Shakspere. Please come here.
William Shakespeare comes over and stands at Oxford's table. He is sipping his drink.
William, we have a proposition for you.
Fast blackout, end of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 1. Mermaid Tavern, moments later. Shakespeare stands before the seated Oxford and Bacon.
A proposition? What kind of a proposition?
Have a seat. Sir Francis and I want to make a proposal to you.
A role in one of your plays?
Shakespeare sits at the table.
Not my plays, your plays.
I am lost. What is the proposition?
You like my writing.
I love your writing.
Well, I write poetry too, but at this moment I have a dilemma. I feel that only you can help.
Me? More than Sir Francis Bacon?
Yes, only you.
Only you.
But I am not a gentleman such as yourselves. You all have money, position, titles. I am just a poor thespian looking for a role.
Oh, we have a role for you to play. Quite a unique one.
A role of a lifetime, quite literally.
I am most confused, gentlemen. Who has written the role? You, Mr. De Vere?
Not I, William.
Or you, Mr. Bacon?
No, not I, William.
Then, gentlemen, I am at a total loss for what we are talking about.
We would like to impose on your good name.
I am waiting for this mystery to conclude. Gentlemen, please arrive at a point so that clarity will issue forth. What are you asking?
How would you like to make a tidy sum?
Annually.
The answer is yes, whatever it is.
William Shakspere. Such a strong, forceful name. Simply rolls off the tongue.
We need a front.
A surrogate. A fellow young traveler such as yourself at the start of your London theatrical career. Surely you could use a little guidance.
I am not opposed to advice.
I have written a poem which I want to publish. I cannot put my name on it as author, but it must be credited.
The Earl of Oxford is willing to pay you for the use of your name. We want you to be our front. This may make you famous and hence easier to land roles in new plays.
Famous?
Yes.
But you won't get upset with me if I become famous for the plays you write?
Oh, you alone can suck that tit. I want nothing to do with that bitch fame.
Shakespeare, as gentlemen, we cannot write our stories and say what we want to say. We want to be free to express our thoughts and ideas and not to worry about our social peers getting a sense of where this wind is blowing from.
We want to camouflage ourselves so that curious minds don't wander back to us. However, if we place your name on the bill,
Our friends would wonder how you knew so much about the royal situations, and it would leave us free to comment on palace politics and our social order without drawing attention to us.
see? Simple.
Because I'm a commoner. Royal situations, politics, social order. Are you going to libel someone?
Oh, of course not. Feel safe, William.
We want to send messages to our royal circle of friends.
But we want to remain anonymous. And here's the best part. We will pay you.
Money for you to put your name on our plays.
Or say an epic poem.
And if some noble person asks you where you got the idea about a scene or some witty dialogue, your answer will be, I just used my imagination. I am a student of human nature.
I have a good eye for well-written characters, and you will pay me for this.
Handsomely.
And we will let you put your name on a Kit Marlowe play.
No shit!
I think you could have found a wittier way to express it, but yes.
He won't mind.
I can honestly say he'll be at a loss of words.
And if Edward De Vere writes a play, you will put my name on it as author.
Yes.
And if you write a play, the name Francis Bacon will be replaced with William Shakspere?
Light seeking light? Doth light of light beguile?
Yeah, whatever that means. And you both will pay me for the use of my name. Agreed. I'll be your facade.
Yes.
Gentlemen, it's a deal.
They shake hands all around to seal the bargain.
Should we wash our hands?
Why?
Never mind.
I would like, however, to challenge the spelling of your surname. I would like to add 2 letters, an A and an E.
Shake a pear?
Shakespeare. Francis, don't you think Shakespeare has a nice ring to it? And it reminds me of that muse, Diana, shaking her spear.
Kind of a poetic touch.
I think we should celebrate, and you should both buy me a drink. I'll get a pitcher of ale.
He gets up and goes to the bar.
A little too eager?
I hope this doesn't turn around and bite us in the arse.
If we are not careful, this upstart crow is going to actually want to write a play.
Blackout. Act 2, Scene 2. Shakespeare will be referred to as Shakespeare from this point on. Mermaid Tavern. Shakespeare enters the Mermaid Tavern and sits at a table. He takes out a manuscript from his satchel and lays it in front of him. He is flipping through the pages and rereading passages. Edward De Vere enters. He is wearing a long scarf, not as a mask. He limps when he walks. He sits with Shakespeare.
Eddie, we've got to talk.
Eddie?
Did you hear about Kit Marlowe? He's dead.
When did this happen?
Last Wednesday.
How did it happen?
He was stabbed to death by some body-serving men. They were drunk, got into a fight at the Widow Eleanor Bull's Tavern, and this guy, Ingram, stabbed Marlowe. Stabbed him! They got into an argument over who was going to pay the bill.
Huh. Well, that's terrible. Such a wasted talent. Gone. Such a talent. Gone.
Yes, that's how I feel. I always wanted to be in one of his plays. Looks like that's never going to happen now.
Well, we know he was a bit of a hothead. He could fly off the handle.
Speaking of talent, I need to talk to you.
Yes?
Look, I can't let you put my name on this play.
What are you talking about?
This play is not ready to be produced. It needs another rewrite.
Shakespeare, your job is not to help me write my plays. It's to let me use your name. That's why I pay you, handsomely, I might add.
Yes, I know. Thank you, and I am not ungrateful for the money, but seriously, look at this scene.
What scene?
Act 3, Scene 4, the scene about the black man's handkerchief. He's really mad with his wife because she can't show him his handkerchief. Her servant Amelia is just standing there listening to the black amour raving mad at his wife. I think we need to rewrite this scene.
We? You're not writing this play, I am. I'm just using your name.
Yes, I know, but hear me out. You've got this Othello fellow asking for the handkerchief, and his wife, Desdemona, lies and says she has it. She lies to her husband.
It's part of the plot. The scene has to turn there.
Yes, but all Amelia has to do is say, I found the handkerchief and gave it to my husband, Iago. But she doesn't. The logic of the scene falls apart. Instead, Amelia is silent. She watches this mad black lunatic raving at his beautiful, innocent white wife, and Amelia stays silent. Does that sound logical to you?
Don't worry, it'll work. Trust me.
You think the groundlings are going to believe that? You think they're not going to question why? Why doesn't Amelia speak up?
Shakespeare, your job is not to write the plays. I only let you read it as a courtesy, so you can be prepared when others ask you about the plot or characters. Maybe I should stop.
No, I need to know the plots. But if I don't believe it, how am I going to convince others?
Act.
Act?
Yes, act. If you're cast as a murderer, are you going to prowl the streets of London looking for someone to kill? No, I don't think so. You're going to act like a killer. You said you were a very fine actor. I'm now asking you to act like you wrote the plays. Act with great conviction and passion for the words on the page.
No, I understand, but still I'm going to have to ask questions. I have to be on top of the play. Do you really think Englishmen are going to believe a black Moor is a soldier leading white men? Where did you get that idea anyway?
First of all, he is not just a soldier. He's a general, a famous mercenary. And it's quite famous in Italy. It's a novella written by Giovanni Battista Giroldi.
Never heard of it.
Cynthia, of course you haven't. But that's not important. What is important is that it's a great story from a popular Italian novella.
If it's so popular, how come it didn't come to England?
I'm bringing it to England in my play.
What's the name of this high and mighty Italian novella?
Hickatomithy.
Never heard of it.
Oh, of course you haven't. Have you ever traveled outside of England?
No.
Do you read Italian?
No.
Then I think it's safe to say you don't know what the hell you're talking about. My suggestion to you, Shakespeare, is that you get a copy of the novella, read it in its Italian, then come back to me with your criticisms. Only then can we talk about the changes that need to be made to my play.
Yes, I understand. Don't be so sensitive. Mr. Edward De Vere, Mr. Earl of Oxford, Mr. Can't change a line of my play. But let me ask you one more question, and then I'll be quiet. The speech about the handkerchief, the Egyptian charmer that was a mind reader, is the black general really that superstitious?
Yes.
All right. I am well aware of black people believing in magic. Black magic, pardon the pun. But does the Italian girl believe in this mumbo-jumbo too?
You're missing the point, Shakespeare. And I think you can be forgiven for that with your limited intellectual abilities. I think when you see it on the stage, then, and only then, will you get a sharper understanding of what is going on dramatically in the play.
So, you like this line. The handkerchief did an Egyptian to my mother Gibbs she was a charmer and could almost read the thoughts of people, she told her, while she kept it, 'twould make her amiable and subdue my father entirely to her love. Do you really like that line?
I love it.
Well, I think you could do better. Just a thought. You might want to think about a rewrite.
Shakespeare, stick to drinking ale and sending money home to your wife. Leave the writing to me and Bacon. We are poets. You are an actor that has been blessed with a great opportunity. Enjoy your moment. In 100 years, we'll all be gone and none of this will matter. Try not to mix your knowledge of poetry with my knowledge of structure, character, and blank verse. We are not equals.
You're telling me, as a playwright, you don't want to listen to the thoughts of an actor.
Precisely. They are pestiferous, self-glorious vipers.
Is that why you developed the actor ruse? You don't want to know how an actor might feel about a character you've created?
I just want you to speak the speech I pray you as I pronounced it to you. For anything so o'erdone is for the purpose of playing, whose end, both at the first and now, was and is to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature. And Shakespeare, I abhor the groundlings, who for the most part are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. Agreed?
Agreed. Touchy, touchy, touchy. I need another drink and better company.
Shakespeare gets up from the table and goes to another part of the tavern. Francis Bacon enters wearing a mask. He carries a leather satchel. He sits at Oxford's table.
I see where you got Kit Marlowe to go along with the Rosicrucian's death plan.
Not in the least. He fought us, went kicking and screaming into that good night.
He didn't agree to die in the tavern brawl?
Hell no. I was able to get Ingram Fraser, Nicholas Skeers, and Robert Pulley to bring him to Eleanor Bull's house in Deptford, but that is where his cooperation ended.
Aren't they also in the employ of the Queen's Secret Service?
Correct. I thought he might better acquiesce if he were among friends and see the necessity of this plan.
Huh. I take it he would not lie down and die.
When they told him why they were there, he exploded, screaming he was at the start of his career.
I heard that he had argued over the bill with Ingram.
Please, that is the story we concocted. Lucky for us, Ingram kept his equilibrium and was able to ward off Marlowe's erratic behavior.
So was Kit stabbed?
Over his right eye. It was the only way Ingram can stop him. The wound is not life-threatening. The coroner is on the Queen's payroll, William Danby. His report looks official.
So where'd you ship him off to?
Italy. He wanted to go to Venice, so we used the ship expedition and disguised him as a Flemish immigrant. Gave him gold and some books. Let the Italians have him. His emotions will fit nicely with their culture.
You think he'll stay quiet?
He has no choice. We are arranging for him to continue with his playwriting, using a different name. And I thought we would add his plays to Shakespeare's list. The Queen's putting Marlowe on salary, too. It's a generous sum, and I do not think he will want to ruin his capital income just to expose himself and have assassins looking for him in Venice. Too many Catholics.
What'll happen to Ingram Fraser? Is he charged with murder?
Yes, but we have arranged for the Queen to pardon all three. Ingram, Robert, and Nicholas. Ingram will be in prison for a month and released.
Remind me not to play chess with you.
Bacon pulls out a script out of his leather satchel.
Oxford, I have a script sent to me from Marlowe, but I think it's got problems and needs a rewrite.
What's it called?
Merchant of Paris, a comedy. It's got a Jewish character in it.
Oh, what is his fascination with Jews? The Jew of Malta? I asked him about it, but he was evasive.
You don't know his heritage, do you?
Tell me.
His father is Jewish.
The shoemaker, a Jew?
No, his real father, Roger Manwood.
Manwood, the judge. Manwood is a Jew?
Arano, a Jew living in secret here in England. We have quite a few of them.
Bacon, I know about the Moranos.
Did you know Rodrigo Lopez is Marano?
The Queen's physician?
There are a number of Maranos in the royal court. The Queen likes their counsel, and they live here under her protection. Manwood had an affair with Marlowe's mother. How do you think he was able to pay for his college education? The Jew, his father, paid for it. Queen knows everything.
You amaze me. How do you know all this?
There are certain advantages to being part of the Queen's inner circle.
I knew it. A shoemaker couldn't afford to send his son to college.
Manwood has been guiding Kit Marlowe's career path from the beginning, with the blessing of the Queen.
So Marlowe is a Jew.
Technically, no, actually. In the Jewish culture, your mother has to be a Jew.
But what Englishman believes that? If his father's a Jew, then Marlowe's a Jew.
In his new play, he has a prominent character who is a Jew, and he asks for a pound of flesh from a non-Jew, a goy, a Christian, as a consequence to a business deal. If the borrower cannot pay, he must give up a pound of his flesh. Marlowe really hates the French.
He's not an enthusiast for French cuisine either. He complains they put too much sauce on everything.
He has a scene where the Jew cuts off the merchant's hand.
He might as well be writing Titus Andronicus. How's the structure?
Structure is sound, but I think you and I should do a rewrite. We can't have a Christian lose his hand to a Jew.
Let's make it Venice instead of Paris, as a kind of nod to where Marlowe ended up.
Merchant of Venice. I like that. A salute to all the Rosicrucians, too.
So what do you want me to rewrite?
Oh, he has this bit about gold, silver, and lead. 3 suitors come to the girl in the story, Portia, and vie for her hand. Her father has presented them with this riddle. They must solve the riddle to win her hand. As written now, gold is the answer, but that seems too obvious to me. Let's use lead.
Who are her suitors?
The last, of course, is the hero. The first is the Prince of Aragon, and the second, the Prince of Dusseldorf.
I hate Germany. Let's make one of the princes from Morocco. I like toying with the idea that maybe the audience will think she's going to marry a black man.
Good idea. I want you to work on the gold, silver, and lead theme. 3 suitors have 3 choices as to which precious metal represents the love of his future bride. Marlowe wrote gold, but we could be a little wittier than that. I'd like you to use your intellect. Can you figure out a way to make it lead and make it poetic? Let the suitor figure out how lead represents true love, make it flowery.
Bacon hands Oxford a few pages from the manuscript.
Nice challenge, Bacon.
And there is a section that I need help with, too.
Bacon pulls some blank pages from his satchel, a bottle of ink, and a feathered pen.
Yes?
There's this courtroom scene, and the lawyer defends the merchant. I'm thinking of having the character Portia masquerade as a man. She will be that lawyer. He defends the merchant in the courtroom and uses the law to save his pound of flesh. If a woman defends the man, it will create a nice tension, and she might not be smart enough to win.
You need help with what? How the law can work in his favor?
No, I've solved that problem. I have a nice plot twist, too. In an earlier scene, she gives her lover Bassanio a ring, and he swears he'll never take it off.
But he gives the ring to the lawyer, which is really her.
Too obvious?
No, not at all. You told me there was a twist. It's a nice dramatic moment. Maybe we can add some humor, too.
It's given as payment.
Before the trial?
No, after the trial. So the Jew does not get his pound of flesh. The hero is obligated to give something of value to the lawyer.
I've got a good joke. Make the Jew convert to Christianity or he dies.
Oh, big laugh. Good. I'll add it. Oh, also, I want to send a message to the Queen.
What kind of message?
Message of mercy. Right now, in the royal court, she is in an awkward position. Lord Burleigh is pressuring her to be strong and cruel. I think she should be more merciful.
You're talking about the Spanish incident.
Yes.
Let's write a speech about the qualities of mercy.
Or the quality of mercy.
Is not strained.
Drops like rain.
It droppeth as the gentle rain. Blank verse, my friend.
Yes, of course. From heaven. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven.
Yes, good, very good. Let's use heaven as a metaphor. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven
On the place below.
upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesses him that gives.
And him that takes.
'Tis mightiest in the mightiest.
It becomes the throned monarch, better than her crown.
Better than his crown. We don't want to be too obvious.
Wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings, but mercy is above this sceptered sway.
Oh, wait. Listen to this. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is the attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show likest gods, when mercy seasons justice.
Excellent, Oxford, excellent. If we do this right, the queen cannot help but be moved.
The Merchant of Venice. I know some things about the city that I can add to the script. It'll give it a little more Italian flavor. I used to ask every morning, what is the news on the Rialto?
Nice touch. Here are the rest of the pages for the gold, silver, and lead scene.
Bacon hands some pages to Oxford. Oxford looks at the pages and figures out what he wants to say.
Thanks. We'll put Shakespeare's name on this, but let's not show it to him until we're ready to go into production.
I'll write Marlowe and let him know what we are doing.
Shakespeare comes over to the table with a pitcher of beer and 3 mugs.
Did I hear my new name? So how are my benefactors doing today?
The real question is, how is our newly named and recent investment Shakespeare doing?
Spending your money on you. These drinks are on me.
Shakespeare pours drinks for everyone.
A toast to our new play, Comedy of Errors.
They all toast as Shakespeare joins them at the table.
Bacon. Oxford said he is going to put me in his next play, a role written especially for me.
Well, I'm also writing a new play, and well, I'm sure I can develop a role for you.
I am in heaven, so I can be in it, and you'll let me put my name on it as playwright, too.
Shakespeare, that is the contract we've made.
And you won't be upset with me getting all the accolades, both as actor and as playwright.
Shakespeare, do you know Lady Elizabeth Hatton?
Not a clue.
Well, you don't run in those social circles, do you?
Thank God.
And when I say lady, it is actually an understatement. She comes from nobility. She is a virtuous lady. Her father, Thomas Cecil, was the first Earl of Exeter. She is married to the ailing William Hatton, soon to be the widow Elizabeth Hatton. She has breeding, sophistication, and a lineage that connects her to the cream of British society. If any inkling of my theater connection waft its way back to her, well, my romantic plans are dashed.
But everybody loves the theater.
No, my friend, not everyone. Of course, you love the theater, but some English aristocrats find the theater distasteful. Elizabeth's delicate nose is offended by the stench that drifts up from the groundlings.
So you're saying she doesn't like a good laugh or enjoy a story well told?
Young Thespis, some English citizens of a noble class do not want to mix or mingle with the common man.
Snobs.
I once had dinner at Gray's Inn with the fine-featured, porcelain-faced Lady Elizabeth, and we talked about art.
Sounds like she took your breath away.
Every I see.
Art. You mean painters like Da Vinci?
Yes, famous paintings, well-crafted sonnets, Thomas Tallis's music, and alas, rowdy and rambunctious theater.
I don't think theater is so rambunctious.
You wouldn't.
As we sat dining on our mutton, drinking red wine, she expressed her disdain for the low characters that show up at the theater. You know, the reprobates, cut purses, harlots, and pimps.
Gypsies, tramps, and thieves?
Exactly. I wanted to invite her to my play I had written, but it became obviously clear very quickly that if she knew I was connected to the theater in any substantial way, my romantic options would evaporate. as mist in the morning dew.
Oh, hodge pudding.
My having Parliament seat in Middlesex, it's a blessing and an asset.
In her eyes.
As is my ambition to strive for Her Majesty's Attorney General, but any whiff of me supporting English theatre might dash my hopes of an aristocratic marriage.
Beware of Edward Coke. He is dangerous.
It's no secret that I'm not the only gentleman who has husbandly eyes has set on her as a goal. My competition for Lady Elizabeth's hand is Edward Coke. But he is mean-spirited, royal court rampallion. He just wants her money and titles.
No doubt.
I actually love her.
Sir Francis, then I suppose you're not coming to the opening of Comedy of Errors?
Yes, I will be there.
I assume without Lady Elizabeth Hatton?
You assume correctly.
Eddie, you want to show Sir Francis our actor ruse?
What kind of ruse?
The actor ruse. Because I'm the playwright, I get the questions about the play. Sometimes the actors want to change a line, or they may have a plot question. Eddie here is paying for everything, so we double team them. I don't know what Eddie wants me to say to them, so I consider the question, then walk around the theater mumbling. Then I defer to Eddie, because he's the money, and he gives the answer. We'll show you. Ask us an actor question.
I don't think my character would say this line.
Shakespeare jumps up from the table and starts pacing and mumbling what Bacon has just said.
He doesn't think his character would say that line. He doesn't think his character would say that line. He doesn't think his character would say that line. He doesn't think his character would say that line. He doesn't think his character would say that line.
Suddenly he stops and bends over and whispers into Oxford's ear. Oxford listens.
Yes, he would.
See? We're a team, Eddie and me.
I see. The real playwright makes the decision without the actors realizing what you have done. Shakespeare, do me a favor. Show a little more respect for the 17th Earl of Oxford. Call him Sir Edward or Lord De Vere or your lordship, but not Eddie.
I did not mean to offend his lordship. I just feel so close to him, like the big brother I never had.
Let's toast to the opening of Comedy of Errors.
They all raise their mugs.
The Comedy
of Errors.
To Comedy of Errors.
Blackout. Act 2, Scene 3. It is December 28th, 1594. There has just been an afternoon performance of Comedy of Errors at Gray's Inn's Hall. The Mermaid Tavern. Shakespeare enters. He is elated.
What a day! What a day! First, thanks for the stipend. What a performance! Oxford, it was the best opening ever!
Enjoyed yourself, didn't you?
Ben Jonson, the playwright, came to me and complimented me on my sense of humor. He said he loved all the funny lines. Ben Jonson, he's my new best friend.
Yes, good feeling.
He kept quoting the line, Satan come forth, then he'd laugh and say, great line.
Mm-hmm. Heady feeling.
I must admit I had my doubts about the fourth act, but it all came together beautifully. Oxford, you are a very funny guy. Dromio, simply priceless.
Which one?
Both. Comedy of Errors. Oh, promise me you'll publish it with my new name.
Guaranteed.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh, an actor came up to me and introduced himself looking for a job. Wants me to consider him for my next play. Isn't that hysterical?
Who was it?
Some fellow named Richard Burbage. He kept insisting he was a wonderful actor.
What did you say?
Well, I told him that I thought he might be a robustious, periwig-pated fellow. I asked, would he tear a passion to tatters, to very rags?
His answer?
Only if I wanted him to. I like that. A robustious, periwig-pated fellow. We should put that in a future play.
By the way, how's your son Hamnet doing?
Much better. I think he's going to be all right. The money helped.
Bacon enters the tavern. He sits with Shakespeare and Oxford.
Ah, Shakespeare, glad you're here. Oxford, I want you to listen to this and tell me what you think.
What is it?
A speech from my new play. It's a comedy.
What's the premise?
Just listen and I'll fill you in after you hear what I've written. This is a lord talking to a lady.
Oh, what did he do to her?
He lied. So did his friends. Lie to her friends.
So he's trying to beg forgiveness for everybody?
Shakespeare, just listen. Honest, plain words best pierce the ear of grief, and by these badges understand the king. For your fair sakes we have neglected time, played foul play with our oaths. Your beauty, ladies, hath much deformed us, fashioning our humor even to the opposed ends of our intents. And what in us has seemed ridiculous, as love is full of unbefitting strains, all wanton as a child, skipping in vain.
Clever rhyme, stains and vain.
I'm finished. Formed by the eye, and therefore like the eye, full of strange shapes, of habits, and of forms, varying in subjects as the eye doth roll to every varied object in his glance, which party-coated presence of loose love put on by us, if in your heavenly eyes have misbecomed our oaths and gravities, those heavenly eyes that look unto these faults suggest us to make.
Brilliant use of eyes, Bacon. Brilliant. The eyes have it.
Not done, Shakespeare. Keep listening. Therefore, ladies, our love being yours, the error that love makes is likewise yours. We to ourselves prove false, and by being once false, forever to be true to those that make us both. Fair ladies, you, and even that is a falsehood, in itself a sin thus purifies itself and turns to grace.
Beautiful. I like it, Bacon.
I think it sounds beautiful. But you should have a couplet that rhymes with sin at the end. Something like, and even that a falsehood in itself a sin, one kiss from you is all I need to win.
The speech is in the middle of the scene. We save couplets for the end of the scene.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting. I've got an idea for a play. If I write it, will you gentlemen take a look at it? I think I could do as well as you.
No.
I wouldn't rush down that road if I were you. Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast. Just enjoy the lifestyle we're helping to provide you.
I do. Honestly, gentlemen, I do. But I have a few ideas I might scribble down and just let you take a look at. I can take criticism, honestly, I can. I've got this idea for 3 witches and a soldier. So these 3 witches tell this soldier that they think he will be king.
No. A pox in your throat, you bawling, blasphemous, incharitable dog.
Wait, Bacon, just hear me out. His wife is a real shrew, a bitch. So she insists that he kill the king, who has stopped over to their castle for a good night's rest. But this canker sore wants to be queen so badly, her ambition pushes him into murdering their king. A good idea, right?
Here's the shit criticism, Shakespeare. No, I don't like it.
Trust me, when it comes to writing a shrew, I can do this. I have first-hand experience. She could say something like, "Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty." Now tell me, is that a shrew line or not?
That is a mean woman.
Damn right she's mean. Believe me, I know how to write that woman firsthand. Plus, I have a woman that lives 3 doors down from me. She says she is a real witch. She can give me some authentic incantations that we can put in the play.
Authentic incantations? Bad luck.
She has told me stories that have left me bewitched, bothered, and bewildered.
Bacon. Shakespeare, I don't like it. You're just a front, a facade, a beard. We pay you to let us use your name. Let's not change the contract in the middle of the game.
Bacon! All that talk in your writing, I just don't get it. I think some of your work needs more action. A sword fight, or maybe somebody gets poisoned.
Are you forgetting my latest play is a comedy?
Oh, yes, right. But my play has action. Murder, sword fights. The groundlings like action.
Maybe you have to see Bacon's comedy mounted.
Maybe.
Don't worry, it'll all become clear soon. This is the next play we're going to do.
So my name will go on this.
Yes, of course.
So what kind of comedy is this?
It's a love story.
No sword fighting?
Kills the joke.
No poison either, I guess.
3 noble kinsmen promise the king they will be celibate.
How can it be a love story if the men promise to be celibate?
They promise the king they'll be celibate for 3 years. Then, a princess and 3 lovely ladies show up in the kingdom. The men labor for their love.
They labor for love? They're celibate? That sounds like Love's Labor Lost. I hope this is a really funny comedy.
Comedy with wit, wordplay, and wasted love. Have you heard of the poet Sir Philip Sidney?
He was my ex-enemy, Shakespeare, and the author of the Countess Pembroke's Arcania.
The Queen loves his writing, and I have written this play as a nod to his genius. Sidney's ability to use words in a creative way. The first performance of this play will be this Christmas in the Queen's royal court.
Would you like to meet the Queen, Shakespeare?
If my wife could only hear what you just asked. Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Well, we will introduce you to her as the author of this play.
Me, standing in the royal court, rubbing elbows with the royal elite.
You won't be so impressed when you actually meet them, Bacon. Bacon, I saw Lord Burleigh today after the performance. We talked about the play. He loved the writing and the jokes. He had no idea I wrote it. Those are my jokes. He wanted to meet Shakespeare here. Thinks you're a genius. Took all my composure to hold my laughter in.
Feels good, doesn't it? Say what you want and no one is the wiser.
I'm definitely publishing Venus and Adonis with your name on it.
Thank you, Oxford. Do you have a new play that you're working on?
I'm writing a play that'll have fairies interacting with humans. I want to play with the idea of the fairy world colliding with the reality of our world.
Wait. You want fairies interacting with humans?
It takes place in Athens in the summer. Maybe have a common workman, a peasant, being seduced by a fairy queen.
Hold it. A queen makes love to a common man.
Yes, a mechanical, specifically a weaver.
How is that going to work? Fairies and humans talking to each other?
Yes, in Athens, a Greek comedy.
That's good.
And since most men are asses, the common man will have the head of an ass when the queen makes love to him.
Fools and fairies. You think all men asses? Maybe she's hitting rock bottom.
His name will be Rock Bottom.
Just call him Rock.
Just call him Bottom.
So Bottom, who has the face of an ass, makes love to a fairy queen. How does that happen?
I don't know. That's what I'm working on.
Make it a dream. I've had dreams like that.
Wet dreams?
Yes, of course. So a Bottom gets made love to by a fairy in Greece in the summertime?
Initially, I also want to do a play within the play. The lamentable comedy and most cruel death of Pyramus and Thisbe.
What is this soon-to-be masterpiece called?
I don't have a title for it yet.
How about A Midnight Dream in Summer?
Maybe.
At this rate, we will have a play every year for the next 20 years. Mercy me, things aren't what they used to be.
Shakespeare takes a folded piece of paper out of his pocket.
Do you know what this is?
Oxford and Bacon stare at the paper.
A sonnet?
No. It's a love letter from my wife. She thanks me for the money, and she heard I wrote a play that was being performed in London. I am becoming famous, and her whole outlook and perception of me has changed.
Congratulations. Good news.
She used to have disdain and contempt for me.
And now she doesn't. The residue of being famous. Shakespeare, enjoy it.
But it's false. I can remember countless times she looked down her nose at me and clucked her tongue when I expressed a thought that gave me pleasure.
Shakespeare, now you have a wife that honors you. Enjoy it.
Honors me? More honored in the breach than the observance. Oxford, you ever tell a friend a favorite story and have your wife say, "Not that old story again"? Then as you tell the story, she moans and groans through the telling?
Yes, I know she has a minor contempt for you and your stories, but those days are gone now.
Yes, and with your newfound fame, she will now listen intently and applaud your storytelling skills because you are famous.
Shakespeare takes out another piece of paper from a different pocket.
Bacon. You know what this is?
A sonnet?
No. It's a love letter.
Your wife certainly is in a loving mood.
This comes from a new friend, a dark lady. She came to a rehearsal, loved what she saw, and wrote me this letter.
You have an admirer. Does this dark lady have a name?
Lucy Negro.
Black Luce. Shakespeare, she's the brothel owner in Clerkenwell.
She loves the theater. She loves my writing. She wants me to write her sonnets.
Now that's a real comedy of errors.
This fame crown is not as easy to wear as I thought it might be.
Uneasy sits the head that wears the crown.
Shakespeare, we have one more playwright we'd like you to front for.
Do I know him?
No. He's our friend, but he's out of the country.
He's an Englishman and wants to get his plays done here, even though he's away.
Oh, that's odd. What's his name?
Shakespeare, part of this arrangement is that where we can keep the secrets, we must keep them. I cannot tell you his name. You must trust that we like his playwriting and that he has important things to say.
We'd promised we'd help him get his plays produced.
He went to Italy and he fell in love with the country, the cuisine, the people.
The religion. He's Catholic, isn't he? He can't practice his religion here because of the Queen, right?
Oh, can't get anything past you, Shakespeare.
I understand politics.
We've told him about you. If he can have an alias, he can write freely and not worry about censorship.
I'll agree as long as he doesn't say anything against Protestants and the Queen. I don't want my head on a platter.
We'll let you read every word before it's spoken on stage.
Plus, we're going to increase your payment. It will be worth it. Your name will be the banner for good theater.
Trust us, Shakespeare. This Englishman is a good writer.
I feel like I should know this man, an English playwright. Are you sure I don't know him?
Positive.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Positive.
Does he have a new play he wants done here?
Yes. He sent me a first draft of a new manuscript.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Well, what's the premise?
Well, since being in Italy, he's really gotten into the customs and the culture of the country. He's discovered an old Italian legend and he wants to turn it into a play.
Which old Italian legend?
He's written a play about Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's been done and redone and overdone. Surely he can't be serious.
Oh, trust me, he is serious. And I don't think he can be talked out of it.
Well, Shakespeare, I don't think you'll have to worry about offending Protestants and the Queen.
Good.
Just boring a few theater patrons with a tired, overworn tale.
Actually, he's got quite a nice view on it. And he's given Romeo a best friend, Mercutio, quite flamboyant. I think the character is a scene stealer.
I'll have to read it before I believe that.
Well, we all will. But the blank verse is exceptional. He asked me if I would contact Edward Allen to play Mercutio.
Alan, isn't he Marlowe's man?
Since Marlowe's dead, I'm sure he won't mind being employed by us.
Is there a role for me in this play?
Actually, there is. Romeo's confidant, Friar Lawrence.
Then I'm good.
This calls for a celebration. We have a triumph with comedy of errors.
We have the promise of a production for the Queen this Christmas of my new play, Love's Labour's Law.
Lost? Yes, and I've got a growing reputation in the theater and money in my purse.
I think this new partnership, which is working so well, deserves a toast. Gentlemen, raise your glasses. A toast to English theater.
They all raise their glasses.
And a couplet for the end.
If our writing has offended, think but this, and all is mended.
That you have but endured here, while we visions did appear.
And this weak and idle theme
Is not exactly what it seems.
Gentles, do not reprehend.
if you pardon, we will mend.
And as I am an honest scribe, take our words, not as a bribe.
Else this scribe a liar call, so good night unto you all.
They clink their glasses.
To the English theater.
English theater.
To English theater.
Blackout. End of play.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our performers to you. First of all, playing the role of Edward De Vere is Gordon Goodman. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Next, playing William Shakespeare is Daniel Barrett.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Then Christopher Marlowe was played by Steve Ducey.
Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Steve. And Sir Francis Bacon was played by Stephen Spiegel.
Thanks for everybody for watching.
Thanks, Stephen. And our narrator was the lovely Mary Lange.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I'd like to thank all of you for sharing your time with us. If you liked what you saw, please tell your friends. Thank you very much and good evening.